All right. Could you please introduce yourself?
My name is Larry Elder. I am the second son of Staff Sgt. Randolph Elder, who was honored today at this gold medal ceremony.
And where's your current residence?
I live in Los Angeles.
And what's your job?
I'm a talk show host and a television and radio talk show host, also a best-selling author. I give speeches and just an all-around troublemaker, I guess.
Okay, and what's your radio show?
It's called The Larry Elder Show. It's on from 3 until 6 on Talk Radio 790 KABC in Los Angeles. Also, anybody can hear it by going to the website larryelder.com or by iHeartRadio.
Can you tell me a little bit about your father?
My father was a rough, tough guy, typical of men of his generation. Didn't suffer fools lightly. He, in my opinion, had a pretty quick temper, which I found out later on was because he worked so many jobs. He worked 2 jobs and cooked for a family on the weekend and went to night school 2 or 3 nights a week to get his GED. So he averaged about 4 hours of sleep, which made him a little temperamental. But he was a hardworking man. He and my mom were married 56 years. He was always there, a great provider, a great role model. I am honored and lucky to have had such a great dad.
Awesome. Yeah, just keep maintaining eye contact with me.
Okay, I'm sorry.
All right, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, can you describe some of your father's military service?
My dad rarely talked about his service. I know that he was a cook. He was stationed on the island of Guam, and he was made a staff sergeant within a very short period of time. My dad spoke very rarely, though, about his service. In fact, one time my dad and I were watching a movie about some blacks who were in the military, and my dad suddenly got real quiet, and I said to him, "What's the matter?" He said, "This scene reminds me of something that I remember when I was in boot camp in Montford. I said, "What happened?" He said, they assembled us, and a white commanding officer stood up and gave a speech. And he said something like, "I've traveled all around the world, but I didn't really realize that we were really at war until I came home and I found that you people were wearing our uniform." My dad said, everybody looked around, didn't know what the hell the guy was talking about, but they all knew it was insulting, and no one said a word. They didn't applaud when the commander finished speaking. They didn't stand up. That was their way of letting them know that they thought his comment was racist. But my dad very rarely spoke about his service. My dad's attitude was the attitude, I think, of most men of that generation, and that is, I did what I was supposed to do. I did what I was required to do. Why are you patting me on the back for doing something that anybody else would have done? That was his attitude.
Now, thinking back on your father's life and your relationship with him, are there certain qualities that you think were very Marine-like in retrospect?
There were a lot of qualities that were very Marine-like. Hard work, discipline, not whining, being structured, having a plan. My dad always said, plan your work and work your plan. My dad was a very focused person, and my dad believed in people following orders. When you were told to do something, you were expected to do it. There's no way that did not come out of the military.
Tell me what you learned about Montford Point and what you think about your dad's experience there.
It's funny, when my dad was in his 90s, I found out that he was a Montford Pointer. Until then, I never knew that. And there was a book that had just come out about Montford Pointers, and I got the book from my dad and I read it to him. And I found out that there were 20,000 black Marines that were stationed at this boot camp in North Carolina called Montford Point. And initially, there was a feeling that they weren't going to be able to cut it, and my dad wanted to prove that he could cut it. And they did cut it, and several of them were stationed in the South Pacific, as was my father. He was on the island of Guam. And I just learned that these were hard-working, courageous men who wanted to prove to themselves and to the world that they were just as American as anybody else.
What does it mean to you for your father and others like him to be recognized for their service at that time?
Well, it's beyond flattering and moving for me to be here at this service recognizing my dad's service. In many ways, I feel unqualified. I feel almost inept. I never served. My older brother did, my younger brother did, my dad did, my uncles did. I never did. And to some degree, I feel that I didn't give back as much as my family did give back. So I'm honored and flattered, but a little bit overwhelmed by the sacrifice that so many people made that allowed people like me to go to college and go to law school and do what I'm doing. It's just an amazing thing that there are men and women willing to die to preserve the freedoms for everybody else, and my dad was one of those men.
What's going through your mind as you see these Marines standing out here in formation and they're integrated, and this is something that your father helped pave the way for? What are you thinking at that point?
As I was sitting here looking at all these people, different ethnicities, different races, I am just proud that my dad was a pioneer. My dad was kind of like a Jackie Robinson of Montford Point Marines. And it lets me know that he left a footprint that others are motivated, inspired by him, and that he was a role model for the country.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
Just, Dad, I know where you are. I know you're looking down at us and you're saying to yourself, why all this trouble because of my little life? And what I want to say to you is, you've earned it. I love you, Dad. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Just kind of one follow-up question, sir. You know, how do you feel about the 5th Marine Regiment and 1st Marine Division being able to organize this ceremony for your dad?
The 5th Marine Battalion organized this. Is that right?
Regiment, too.
The 5th Marine Regiment organized this for my dad, and I just want to thank them all for doing this. So many people went through so much trouble to make sure that my dad's records were verified, that he did what I said that he did, and they put the ceremony together. And I was told that no other branch of the military does this other than the Marines. So thank you.